For more than 4 decades, Voyager 2 has drifted further than any human creation before it. A tiny machine launched in 1977 that was never meant to live this long. It should have been silent by now, frozen and dead in the blackness of interstellar space. And yet, against all odds, it continues to send back faint whispers from beyond the edge of our solar system, fragments of data so weak they could easily be lost in the noise. For years, those transmissions have been routine: plasma readings, particle densities, the occasional burst of cosmic background radiation. Nothing extraordinary, until recently. Because in September 2025, Voyager 2 transmitted something that changed everything. Hidden within the static was a rhythm, a pulse, that scientists instantly recognized as identical to the signals being observed from 3I Atlas, the mysterious interstellar object currently blazing toward the sun. And what followed was even more disturbing: a sudden clampdown from NASA, reports redacted, images withheld, and whispers from insiders that the truth about Voyager's discovery was being hidden. If Voyager 2 had warned us about Atlas, the question is not just what it found, but why those in power do not want us to know. The first anomaly appeared innocently enough. Voyager 2's plasma wave instrument, designed to detect fluctuations in the interstellar medium, registered something unusual. Normally, these signals look like faint static, natural turbulence in the sea of charged particles surrounding the solar system. But this time, analysts noticed a repeating structure: a rise, a fall, a pause, then the same pattern again. At first, they thought it was interference, perhaps even a malfunction of an aging probe more than 19 billion kilometers away from Earth. But then came the detail that made their blood run cold. The interval between pulses was exactly 173 minutes, the same rhythm astronomers had already linked to the strange heartbeat glow of 3I Atlas. 2 separate instruments, one a billion kilometers from Earth and the other perched at the edge of the solar system, were recording the same cosmic beat. Coincidence was mathematically impossible. The implication was terrifying. Whatever was pulsing in Atlas's emerald glow was reverberating across the solar system, and Voyager 2 had become an unwilling listener, entangled in a signal that should not have been there. It was not a natural hum of plasma. It was structured, deliberate, and persistent. As engineers combed through Voyager's fragile stream of data, they found more than just a repeating pulse. Within the static, hidden in faint modulations of frequency, were sequences, bursts of radiation that did not fit the random chaos of space noise. They were ordered, repeating, structured in a way that looked eerily like a form of encoding. At first, the team thought it might be a digital artifact, the result of errors in transmission across billions of kilometers. But deeper analysis revealed ratios, symmetries, and repeating cycles that mirrored mathematical constants. This was not a malfunction, it was information. Stranger still, the intensity of these bursts appeared to rise and fall in lockstep with Atlas's behavior. Whenever the object flared in brightness, Voyager's instruments picked up stronger patterns, as if the probe itself was receiving echoes of Atlas's activity. To some, this suggested that Voyager was acting as a receiver, or worse, as a relay, caught in the middle of a conversation humanity was never meant to hear. Was 3I Atlas broadcasting? Was Voyager intercepting a message not meant for us? Or had something reached out and used Voyager's instruments to deliver a warning? When the first reports trickled back to mission control, there was confusion, then urgency, and then silence. Normally, anomalies from Voyager would be celebrated, the kind of discovery that headlines across the world. But this time, there was no press release, no briefing, no excitement. Instead, insiders described meetings behind closed doors, data files suddenly marked as restricted, and entire communication threads disappearing from internal servers. What little information was shared publicly came in the form of vague, watered-down statements about instrumental noise and routine interference. But the amateur community, always watching, noticed the discrepancy. Independent researchers who tracked Voyager's narrow-band signal reported gaps, periods where the probe appeared to transmit data that never arrived on Earth. Some whispered that the data was being intercepted, filtered before it reached the public. The narrative was clear. Something had been detected, something linked to Atlas, and the decision had been made not to share it. and that silence spoke louder than any announcement. If Voyager 2 had simply glitched, NASA would have said so. But instead, the silence suggested they were hiding something too disruptive to reveal. Behind the silence, however, fragments of the story continued to leak. Scientists close to the data suggested that Voyager 2 had not only picked up the 173-minute pulse, but also variations, shifts in the pattern that looked like signals of escalation. One insider described it as a countdown, a sequence that built in intensity before abruptly falling back into its regular rhythm. Another claimed the probe had detected harmonics, side frequencies that aligned with Earth's own orbital resonance. In other words, whatever Atlas was broadcasting, it was tuned, deliberately or coincidentally, to frequencies that interact with our planet. That was when whispers of a warning began to spread. Not just a signal, but a message, one that may not have been directed at us, but that Voyager, by chance, had intercepted. Was it a danger to the Sun? A danger to Earth? Or was it something more abstract, a beacon meant for an intelligence older and greater than ourselves? We may never know, because the people who do know are not telling. NASA has chosen silence, and silence, in this case, is the most terrifying answer of all. Not long after the anomaly was detected, deep space tracking stations in Australia and Spain reported something they had never seen before, a duplicate echo of Voyager's transmission arriving from a different angle than expected. Normally, Voyager's signal is faint, predictable, and comes from a precise direction in space. But this echo seemed to bypass Earth entirely, as if the probe's message had been copied and redirected somewhere else before it reached us. Analysts described it as a shadow transmission, a secondary signal piggybacking on Voyager's original, but aimed at a point far beyond Earth's orbit. That meant either Voyager itself had been manipulated to send duplicate data, or some unknown mechanism was intercepting and relaying its signal. If true, then 3i Atlas wasn't just broadcasting into the void. It was using our probe to forward its message to a destination no one could identify. The chilling implication was that humanity was not the intended audience. We were only eavesdropping on a conversation meant for someone or something else. While Voyager's faint signal was scrutinized in secrecy, Earth itself began to experience unexplained disturbances. Global magnetometers, sensitive instruments that measure the planet's magnetic field, detected rhythmic oscillations that matched the same 173-minute pulse Voyager had picked up. These fluctuations disrupted GPS satellites, triggered unexpected auroras as far south as the Mediterranean, and caused unexplained surges in electrical grids. Pilots reported compass failures. Mariners at sea complained of navigation errors. Even wildlife seemed affected. Whales beached in unusual numbers, migratory birds veered off course, and nocturnal animals became agitated in regions where the night sky glowed faintly green. It was as though the Earth itself was vibrating in resonance with the signal from 3i Atlas, and the timing made the connection impossible to ignore. If Voyager's warning was a cosmic anomaly, then why was our planet reacting as though it were part of the transmission itself? Then came the leak that sent shockwaves through the small community of astronomers still following Voyager's fading story. An audio file surfaced online, allegedly from a private NASA conference call, in which voices discussed the Voyager anomaly in urgent, hushed tones. In the recording, one scientist stated bluntly, "If this continues, we won't be able to contain it." Atlas is broadcasting, and Voyager has become its amplifier. Another voice interrupted, warning that the public must never hear those words. The file was quickly scrubbed from the internet, but mirrors spread across forums and encrypted networks. Though authenticity could not be confirmed, the phrasing aligned with insider rumors. Voyager wasn't malfunctioning. It had been co-opted, its instruments turned into a megaphone for something tied to Atlas. And NASA's priority was not understanding it, but controlling the fallout. For those who heard the recording, the warning was clear. Something monumental was happening, and the people in charge were desperate to keep it hidden. As weeks passed, the pulse from 3i Atlas, and mirrored in Voyager's stream, shifted. What had once been steady intervals of 173 minutes began to accelerate. The timing shortened, the rhythm quickened, until it no longer resembled a cosmic heartbeat, but a rising drumbeat, building toward some unknown climax. Astronomers charting the sequence noticed a terrifying trend. If the acceleration continued, the pulses would reach a point of critical alignment on the very day Atlas reached perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun. That meant the rendezvous between Atlas and our star was not random, but orchestrated. The crescendo of a process Voyager had been warning us about all along. It was not just a signal, it was a countdown. And when it reached 0, the solar system itself might learn the true purpose of Atlas's arrival. Engineers monitoring Voyager 2's transmissions began noticing something unprecedented. Entire segments of data were vanishing midstream. At first, it looked like ordinary packet loss, the kind of glitch expected when a weak signal travels billions of kilometers. But closer analysis revealed a disturbing pattern. The missing data wasn't random. It always coincided with the moments when 3I Atlas emitted its brightest flares or strongest pulses. What reached Earth were fragments, gaps perfectly aligned with the object's activity. Amateur radio astronomers who tried to intercept Voyager's signal on their own confirmed the same thing. Whenever Atlas pulsed, Voyager's stream fractured, as if something, or someone, was deliberately censoring those portions. To some, it looked like external interference. To others, it suggested Voyager was transmitting more than we were allowed to receive. Whatever the explanation, it felt intentional, like the probe had been hijacked to serve a purpose humanity wasn't meant to witness. Then came another bizarre discovery. Observations of Voyager's trajectory, carefully tracked by the Deep Space Network, began to show slight but measurable deviations. The probe was not where it should have been, as though invisible forces were nudging it off course. These shifts weren't random. They matched the timing of Atlas's accelerating pulses. Some physicists proposed that the anomaly was caused by distortions in space-time itself, ripples generated by the resonance between Atlas and the Sun. Others went further, suggesting that Voyager was caught inside an energy field spreading outward from the interstellar object, a web that extended across billions of kilometers. If true, this meant that Voyager was no longer just an observer of Atlas, but a participant in an event altering the very structure of the solar system. It was not drifting freely anymore. It was being guided, pulled, or even positioned, as though placed deliberately inside the geometry of the signal. While scientists struggled with missing data and warped trajectories, Earth itself seemed to be drawn deeper into the mystery. Reports poured in from across the globe of synchronized phenomena, clocks drifting out of alignment, networks experiencing unexplained lags, and entire regions reporting strange luminous glows in the night sky. Farmers in remote areas described hearing low-frequency hums reverberating through the ground, matching the intervals of Voyager's intercepted signal. Spiritual leaders and mystics declared that humanity was tuned to the same resonance as the cosmos, while conspiracy theorists insisted that governments were preparing for disclosure. Even ordinary people, with no scientific background, reported vivid dreams of lights, patterns, and rhythms they couldn't explain. The idea took root that Voyager wasn't just transmitting data, it was transmitting something that humans, consciously or not, were beginning to feel. And if the entire planet was resonating with Atlas, then the warning wasn't limited to a probe drifting in the void. It was for all of us. Leaked documents from within NASA hinted at something far more unsettling, an internal directive labeled Event Atlas. Buried within its technical jargon were chilling lines about containment protocols and public risk management. Nowhere did it describe the anomaly as simple noise. Instead, it referred to Voyager's reception as a foreign transmission event and warned of cascading resonance effects on planetary systems. Most shocking of all was the section marked for restricted access, which outlined steps for temporary suppression of astronomical data. That explained the missing feeds, the redacted images, the silences in official reports. NASA wasn't just withholding information, it was actively preventing the global scientific community from piecing together the truth. According to the directive, Voyager 2 had confirmed something undeniable about 3I Atlas. Something not random, not natural. Something that suggested intent. And instead of preparing humanity for what was coming, the plan was to bury it. Amateur radio operators across the globe began reporting something extraordinary. While attempting to listen to Voyager 2's faint signal, many noticed a secondary frequency riding on top of the main carrier wave. This ghost frequency wasn't documented in NASA's public data, yet it appeared consistently during periods when 3I Atlas pulsed brightest. When slowed down and analyzed, it revealed modulations that resembled audio patterns, low, resonant tones that seemed almost like a voice buried in static. Some researchers described it as mechanical, others said it felt organic, like a heartbeat converted into sound. A small group even claimed that the patterns repeated in sequences of prime numbers, the universal signature often theorized as a hallmark of intelligent communication. If Voyager was simply malfunctioning, how could it embed such precise mathematics in its anomalies? For those listening, the eerie sound carried a sense of purpose, as if the cosmos itself was trying to whisper a message through the last surviving relic of humanity's golden age of exploration. Astronomers tracking the path of 3I Atlas noticed something unnerving. Its trajectory, once chaotic and unpredictable, began to align with an impossible precision, not with Earth, not with Mars, but with the exact position of Voyager 2. Despite the vast distance between them, calculations revealed that the object's subtle course adjustments placed it directly in line with the probe, as though the rendezvous wasn't with the Sun at all, but with our machine at the edge of interstellar space. The implications were staggering. Had Atlas detected Voyager's presence? Was it adjusting itself to synchronize with our probe? Or worse, had Voyager become the anchor for a process orchestrated by something far beyond human control? Whatever the reason, the numbers left no room for doubt. The paths of Atlas and Voyager were not just coincidental, they were converging by design. Around the same time, observatories around the world began reporting strange and sudden equipment failures. Telescopes trained on Atlas suffered unexplained power outages, cameras refused to record during the object's most intense pulses, and sensitive instruments locked up in ways engineers could not replicate. In Hawaii, a team monitoring Atlas's spectrum reported that every single recording device crashed at the same instant, leaving nothing but corrupted files filled with blank green frames. In Chile, an observatory lost control of its pointing system, as though the telescope itself refused to track the object. The coincidence was too precise to dismiss. Whatever resonance linked Voyager to Atlas seemed capable of reaching across vast distances, disrupting even the most advanced instruments designed to watch the sky. To many, it felt as if Atlas was not just being observed. It was actively preventing observation, deciding what humanity was allowed to see. Then came the revelation that transformed unease into outright fear. Analysts who reconstructed Voyager 2's fragmented data stream noticed that the repeating pulse wasn't just a rhythm, it was changing in length, accelerating in a precise curve. When extrapolated forward, the countdown reached a critical moment. The exact date when 3I Atlas would reach perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun. This wasn't random static or faulty hardware. It was a sequence, one that matched perfectly with the object's trajectory and its increasing brightness. Voyager's signal was counting down to something monumental. Some whispered it was the moment Atlas would reveal its true nature. Others feared it was a trigger, a point of no return that would unleash consequences for the entire solar system. But one thing was undeniable. Voyager had become the messenger of a cosmic clock, and the hands were moving faster every day. Deep within NASA's archives, engineers monitoring Voyager 2's telemetry noticed anomalies that had nothing to do with plasma waves or cosmic radiation. They were buried in the spacecraft's orientation data. Without receiving any official commands from Earth, Voyager had made subtle adjustments to its antenna alignment, shifting by fractions of a degree in ways that no one could explain. These weren't random errors. They occurred precisely during Atlas's strongest pulses, as if the probe itself were reacting to an external force. Some speculated that electromagnetic surges might have scrambled its systems, but others pointed out that the shifts actually improved the quality of the anomalous data streams, as though the probe had been guided into a better position to listen. The idea that a human-made spacecraft could be manipulated across billions of kilometers by an interstellar object was both fascinating and terrifying. If Atlas could reach into Voyager, what else might it be able to control? Then, without warning, the anomalies stopped. For the first time in months, Voyager 2's signal returned to something resembling normality, weak, steady, unremarkable. Atlas's heartbeat-like rhythm, once mirrored in the probe's transmissions, vanished entirely. On Earth, some scientists celebrated, claiming the glitch had finally passed. But others felt an unease far deeper than before. The sudden absence of the signal did not feel like resolution. It felt like anticipation, the silence that falls before a storm breaks. Independent astronomers still watching Atlas noticed that while Voyager's transmissions had gone quiet, the object itself was brighter than ever, its emerald glow spilling across the night sky with unprecedented intensity. To those who understood the patterns, it was obvious. The connection hadn't been severed. It had entered a new phase. Voyager's silence was not an end, but a pause, and when the signal returned, it would not come back the same. For months, Voyager 2 whispered warnings across the abyss, carrying fragments of a signal that seemed to come not from the probe itself, but from 3I Atlas, the interstellar intruder blazing a trail through our solar system. It echoed Atlas's pulse, it carried hidden sequences, and it aligned with events on Earth that no one could explain. And then, just as the world began to pay attention, the signal stopped. To many, the silence was a relief. But to those who understood the patterns, the silence was the most terrifying sign of all. It meant the countdown had reached its next phase. The truth is simple and yet unbearable. Voyager 2, our oldest and farthest machine, became more than an observer. It became a participant, a receiver, perhaps even a tool in a process that humanity cannot comprehend. Atlas didn't simply pass through our system like Oumuamua. It announced itself with rhythm, geometry, and resonance, and it used our own creation to deliver the message. The probe we launched in innocence decades ago has now become a conduit for something far older and far more powerful than we can imagine. NASA's silence tells us everything we need to know. If this were a glitch, if this were random, they would dismiss it openly. Instead, they locked the data away, buried it under redactions, and erased the echoes from public archives. Not because the anomaly was meaningless, but because it was undeniable. Voyager warned us. Atlas responded. And somewhere in the vastness, a dialogue began, one we were never supposed to intercept. Now, as Atlas approaches the sun, the question remains. What was the signal counting down to? Was it a warning to us, or a call to something beyond? Has humanity been caught in the crossfire of a conversation between civilizations that span the stars? Or worse, was the signal never meant to be intercepted at all, and Voyager's role as messenger was just an accident of timing? The emerald light continues to blaze, the pulses continue to resonate, and the silence grows heavier with each passing day. We stand at the edge of revelation, watching as an object from another star system rewrites everything we thought we knew about the universe. Voyager 2 gave us the warning, Atlas gave us the signal, and soon we may discover why. Because this story is not finished, the countdown has not ended, and the moment Atlas completes its passage by the sun, the silence will break, and humanity will finally learn what was hidden in Voyager's final transmission.